Welcome back to another episode of Monday Night Muscle. I'm your host with my co-host, the voice of professional bodybuilding, Bob Chick. And we are being joined today, Bob, by the Giant Killer. You've heard that name before. There's a couple of them. Let's weed them out. Who were they?
I trained in the same gym as the original Giant Killer.
New York.
Danny Padilla.
Rochester,
New York, my friend. Listen, a hubbub of great bodybuilders. Pete Grimkowski, Danny Padilla, George Farah.
Back in the day.
Yours truly.
From the Teenage Nationals in 1984 in Detroit.
That's right.
And Atlanta in 85.
That's right.
Well, we come a long way from there because to be a Giant Killer, you got to be on the shorter side of stature. I'm going to say anything under 5'6.5".
Well, you should have been a Giant Killer then.
That's why I said 5'6.5". Hello.
Okay.
But I'm retired, and now the name and the title lives on in the latest Giant Killer, the 220 Mr. Olympia 212 champion. Let's welcome, by way of Jersey, Shaun Clarida.
New Jersey.
What's up, guys?
Hey, what exit?
Well, I met you in New Jersey, but is that where you live, Shaun?
Yeah, I'm in Jersey.
Okay, we got it right. I met Shaun at the Diamond Gym, the world-famous Diamond Gym. Bob, you ever heard of it?
John Kemper's old stomping grounds.
The late Derek Whitsett.
That's right. Yeah.
I know that there's been a lot of guys go through that.
How about Johnny Moran?
Johnny Moran, back in the North American champion.
Yeah.
You remember Johnny Moran? You know the history of Diamond Gym.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you know any of these names that we're throwing around?
Yeah, of course. Okay. Of course. The legends.
The late John Kemper. His wife was a competitor too.
Gerard Dente.
I think his
out of Jersey. So we got a whole bunch of people out of Jersey in Diamond Gym. And, of course, the Giant Killer himself, the new Giant Killer.
Yes.
By the way, how do you like the words "and new"?
And
Shaun?
new.
Well, they're great, but next year I want to hear "and still." So.
Oh, greedy. I love it. Well, Shaun, I know you came the long way. I want to say you came the long way because I met this kid. Well, I met this kid, it was 2010 or 11, right, at the muscle camp I put on. And kind of came in there. You were layered up too. You had on a couple of hoodies and looked like you padded yourself right. Walking around. And we had a great muscle camp. You chose to bypass that.
Yeah,
but we had Cedric McMillan, Evan Centoponte. Remember Rodney Roller back then?
Yeah,
Rodney Roller was there. Who else? Shaun, you remember? That was like your first muscle camp over there.
You had Kevin LeBron, Rodney. You had Kevin LeBron. Yeah, I think Linda Murray was there as well.
Okay.
Sarah Hayes. It was stacked.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
Great time.
Awesome.
And you were just a paying customer coming to kind of hang out and rub elbows with the pros. And now you got that 212 title around your neck and the trophy and all that good stuff that comes with it. How does it feel?
It's crazy how, like you said, I was just that one amateur kid looking up to all these people, taking pictures. Now I'm in their position. It feels amazing, honestly. This is something I've been working for, dreaming of my whole entire career. For it to obviously happen and come to fruition, it's still unbelievable. It really hasn't sunk it in yet. I'm kind of just back to normal life. And obviously, along with that comes with people taking pictures, autographs, the whole 9 yards. So as you call it, Shaun, on the business side of bodybuilding.
The business of bodybuilding. 5'3", 177 pounds, Bob.
Well, Shaun, we talked to Dexter not too long ago, and he takes great pride in saying that he has gained 100 pounds in his bodybuilding career when he started as a bantamweight to where he is today. Where are you in that spectrum?
I'm not that close yet. So when I started at 118, and I competed at 177. So next year we'll probably be on stage another 5-6 more pounds heavier.
So this is kind of an interesting dynamic, Shaun, because you've got Dexter, who legitimately started as a bantamweight, like he said, 130-something pounds.
137.
Not too far off of where Shaun started. Again, a shorter guy, obviously a small guy.
Shaun could have definitely been in the Kentucky Derby, no question.
Yeah, no question
Dexter,
about it.
a little heavy, but Shaun could have been a
It's got to give you great promise, though, that you see a guy like a Dexter Jackson in the career he's had and an Olympia winner back in 2008 and literally not too far from where you're at.
Exactly. He's always been my role model, someone I looked up to just because, like him, he started off like I did, a smaller guy. People told me he wouldn't do it. He was too small. And what did he do? He proved them all wrong and became one of the best bodybuilders of all time. So obviously I'm trying to chase that same path about creating my own legacy along the way.
Well, Shaun, one thing that I've noticed, you've never been lacking confidence. Shy, maybe a little bit reserved, but you've always been confident in everything bodybuilding. I think you won a competition, was it in Vancouver? We're at Vancouver.
2015.
What year?
2015.
Yeah, 5 years ago. I mean, we saw you coming. And you've also had your fair share of close calls. Did you win the New York Pro? I know you got third one year.
2018, I won it.
Yes. So you slowly built that resume. And, of course, a year ago, 2019, I believe you were third, right?
Correct.
So going into the 2020 Olympia Championships, Bob, we were talking about Derek Lunsford.
Yeah.
We were talking about the champion, Kamal El-Garni.
Yeah.
And we thought George Peterson was going to come in and do some stuff. And this guy comes in and knocks him out the box.
Well, the thing is, people were talking about Shaun Clarida as well. If you know bodybuilding, and you were talking about the 212 and contenders, if the name Shaun Clarida did not come out of your mouth, then you do not follow the sport. Anybody with two eyes could see that this guy was coming.
Yep.
He was going to be a contender, and it's exactly what you did, man. You showed up in your all-time best condition, which I got to believe this was a real good time to hit your peak, bro, because Kamal El-Garni was not off.
He was on.
No, he was 100% on. We knew that coming to the show, Kamal was the guy to beat. No disrespect to anybody else, George or Derek. We just knew Kamal was going to be better, which he was. But I need to be just as better as I was as well. Again, we put on a couple more pounds, made sure the conditioning was on point, posing the presentation, the whole 9 yards. And we delivered as we expected.
One of the things Bob told me was it was like a heavyweight champ. You guys were going back and forth from one round to the next.
Yeah.
I personally had you winning it when you came out because I saw the improvements that you made, which were greater and more significant than what Kamal made. I think Kamal looked very similar to a year ago, whereas you were like a different bodybuilder. That extra weight, the conditioning, the vascularity, especially when you actually were in the poses, caught my eye right out of the box, and I thought, well, you had the advantage. But like Bob said, looking at it from other perspectives, there were some things that Kamal had that were going on for him that you didn't have because the guy outweighed you by like 30 pounds.
Correct, yep.
Were you concerned at all?
Honestly, no, Shaun. I mean, again, I won shows at 150 pounds, 160 pounds. It doesn't matter. I knew that, 2019 was my best package ever. Third place at Olympia, you couldn't beat that. And we knew that if we were a few pounds bigger with the same conditioning, if not sharper, that we would definitely be in the mix. And coming to the season, again, I got up to my heaviest ever in the off season as compared to the year prior. And I knew that we were going to definitely be in contention this year, no matter what.
Well, Shaun Ray was covering the show, so he wasn't actually up on the stage as I was. So I got to see you guys close up. And, of course, I get to converse with the judges. This competition was so close. It literally went back and forth about 4 times. And you picked a real good time to come back for the night show looking good because I can tell you right now, prior to the night show, it was the other way. It was Kamal that was winning and you were in second. But it was so close that Big Steve said, we're judging tonight. We're looking. It's right there. It could literally go either way. So you actually won that Olympia title at the finals.
Yeah, we knew that it was close, and we came back to the night show. We knew we had to be improved and give 100%. We had one more opportunity to do that, and I was ready to battle no matter what. And I expected Steve to work us like he did. And again, I think it came down to who really wanted it more. I literally gave everything I had that very moment. And I just left it in the judge's hands at that point in time. And, God willing, everything came out the way it did.
Well, I think one of the advantages is the 212, Bob, takes place all in one day.
Right.
Doesn't have to stretch it out over 48 hours and kind of go nuts whether you should eat, whether you should sleep, whether you should pose. But it looked like, Shaun, after prejudging, you just continued on. So you come off the prejudging stage. They tell you it's close. You believe you won, but some other people are saying, hey, whatever. What did you do? I mean, do you eat more food? Do you cut back on the water? You pose? What did you do?
We went back to the room right away. My coach checked my weight, Matt Jansen. He looked at me, and we had a very small meal. And his biggest concern was me getting to sleep and relax and letting that food just slowly digest in my body and let my body just come down from the rush of being on a prejudging stage. So within like an hour and a half before we were heading out to the finals, he looked at me one more time, and we knew we were on. We knew we were better from the morning time. Again, we didn't eat anything. We didn't drink anything at all. We just kind of just rode that whole, that wave right into the finals.
Yeah, not that you were off at the prejudging at all, because clearly you weren't. But you did get even better at that finals. You were a little bit more crisp. And that's not to take away from Kamal, because I don't think he lost anything either. He actually seemed to come back about the same, if not a little bit improved himself. But at the end of the day, it was your shape, I believe, that brought you through to the winner's circle. Kamal is 30 pounds heavier. He's got a little bit more muscle, but he's also a little bit more up and down, where you've got those freaky
round
shoulders, your round muscle bellies, the small, tiny waist, the flaring thighs, and I think that's what pulled you through.
That's pulled me through a lot of mini shows. You know, I've never been the biggest guy. I've never been anywhere near 212 on stage. But because, like you said, my shape, my presentation, my structure, my conditioning, it's enabled me to win so many shows as an amateur as well as a pro. So that's something I feel like obviously carried me into the win.
Yeah.
Well, Kamal, I want to get into the actual moment when you're on stage.
Did you call him Kamal? Because that's what I heard, right? Look at this.
Did I say that?
Let me correct. Let me help. Let me help, Bob. I'm
He's
going to
in
give you a
first
minute.
place. You're
I'm
in
going to let
second.
you think about what you just said. We're going to take a commercial break real quick with the Giant Killer. We're going to come back with some more intriguing questions of the champion. Now, Bob, it is Shaun, not Kamal.
Okay, all right, Shaun, it is. Whatever you want.
Sky. We'll be right back.
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else. Every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, you know I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on trifecta.
All right, welcome back to Monday Night Muscle. We are on with the Giant Killer, Shaun Clarida.
Yeah, all right, thanks, Kamal. All right, so listen.
This guy.
All right, so bring me back to the moment, Shaun. You know it's close. We're at the finals. Of course, we got to go Olympia style. Both you guys in the center. Here comes the big announcement, and you hear the words.
And new.
And new.
Yeah,
what goes through your head at that moment?
I was just waiting for those words. Honestly, going into the finals, I thought maybe because I didn't give enough. Maybe I didn't do enough, and I knew Kamal was improved, and I was ready to take the second place title. But I left it in the judges' hands, and obviously they saw fit for me to be the champion. So when I'm hearing and new, it's just a rush of emotion. It's relief, you know, that all these years finally had paid off. And I just honestly, it's so surreal, that moment. Again, I tell people, if you're not in that position, it's kind of hard to put into words.
Yeah.
Shaun,
but again,
Shaun went full Ronnie Coleman at that moment. Down, boom, he hit the deck.
But it was very, it's crazy. I got to tell you, I mean, there's a lot of athletes out there, Shaun, that can only dream of what that feels like. I mean, you think about it, Gaspari was third in the Olympia 3 times, and Flex Wheeler got a few seconds. I got a couple seconds. We don't know what that elation and relief, because that's a key word. The relief of it all, the finality of it all. And then it's almost like once it sinks in, you want to do it again. It's like going on that roller coaster ride, right? And you get off it, you're scared, and you're going through the ups and downs, and you're screaming, and as soon as it's over, you want to do it again.
Well, Shaun, Dexter said in his interview that the reason that the Olympia win was so special to him was because he was never supposed to win it. He heard all his life, you could win the Arnold, you're going to win all these other shows, but you're never going to win the Olympia. You're not big enough, you're not going to be good enough, there's always going to be somebody better. Do you feel similar in your win?
I wasn't even supposed to be here, according to so many people. When I turned pro in 2012 at the Nationals as a bantamweight, people would tell me your career's over. I'm like, what do you mean? You're like, well, you're too small, there's no bantamweights never going on to do big things, you're not going to win these shows, you're wasting your time, just give up. But I said, if I made it this far, who's to say that if I don't continue to work hard, be consistent, and show up, that I can't win a pro show or make it to Olympia, or if not, win the Olympia. Truly, I've always believed I can win Olympia, guys. I truly believe that. I work hard, and I believe that timing is everything. So I knew as I continued to work hard and show up and be improved every single year, that my time would come.
Well, it's interesting because there's not a lot of examples for you to follow. When he says the Giant Killer, he's talking about Danny Padilla, who's much bigger than you.
Yeah.
If I'm in that category, I was 212, 215 pounds as a Giant Killer, and I'm 5'6". I got you by like 5 inches. I got you by 3 inches.
That's why Shaun likes taking pictures with you, by the way.
But what I'm saying, you make me look tall, so I feel really good.
No, let's not get crazy with the word tall.
But what I'm saying is, I've seen you with 5 plates on each side on the squat rack. I mean, you're not a weak bodybuilder. You put the work in.
You have to. I mean, I don't care what my height is. I knew that. This is bodybuilding. You got to come to the show with some muscle on. And I knew that it's not going to happen by throwing out some cables and stuff. I have to go into the gym every single day, do the basic compound movements, the barbell rows, the T-bar rows, the squatting, the deadlift, all the basic movements. That's how I've built my base over the years. And personally, for me, that's what works best for my body.
Well, Shaun, the cool thing is that you're in a unique position where you could literally almost never outgrow this class. Yeah. We've talked to other people, some of your competitor friends, the Derek Lunsfords and Flex Lewis, we've already seen come and go, George Peterson. We talked to some of these guys where they're at the edge. They're close to 212. Even Kamal himself, I think he was right at 212. Mm-hmm. So you've got 30 pounds. You could literally be in this class as long as you wish to be in this class.
Yeah, he will. He's not going to graduate. Can you see him at 5'3", at 215? I mean,
hey, listen. You know what? Dexter Jackson did it.
Yeah, Danny but Dexter Jackson still got him by 3 or 4 inches. I mean,
hey, listen. Padilla was close to 200, I think, when he was competing in the 90s against Dorian and all that. And
Shaun, let me give you advice. Don't listen to this guy. Look, another 30 pounds on your frame is not going to make you a better bodybuilder. You are on the right trajectory. A couple of pounds here or there, but you don't have to, because you're not going to be in the open. You don't have to be in the open because
he's not going to be in the open. But
thank goodness for this division.
Listen, when he was 30 pounds ago, somebody might have said, "Well, let's not get crazy, Shaun. You're another 30 pounds ain't going to make you Mr. Olympia winner."
Yeah, but we got to be realistic. I want this guy around for a long time. Okay, we do got to talk about. There's some health issues when you're 5'3" and 230. Mohammed bin Aziza, it didn't fare well for him. No. When Mohammed bin Aziza was a little bit lighter, he actually beat Dorian Yates. Do you remember who that was? An old school Mr. Olympia. But like Bob said, you're probably just a little baby back then. But when Dorian won his first Olympia in 92, how old were you? 1992.
I was in 3rd grade.
Yeah, that's my point. So I'm talking about an old school bodybuilder. I'm going to give you a little bit of background. But he was beaten by a giant killer in 1990, Mohammed bin Aziza. He couldn't have been 5'2", maybe on a good day.
About that. Yeah.
Maybe 5'2". But he was a guy that would blow up to well over 220 pounds.
Not a good move.
When he beat Dorian in 1990 at the Night of Champions, he gained a lot of weight, and he went on to compete at a heavier weight, and it didn't serve him well. In 1992, he was heavy. He was kind of sloppy. I think if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep winning doing what you're doing. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, and bigger's not always better. Take it from me.
Yeah, no, you're right. A few pounds here and there. Again, I'm not a guy I don't plan on being in the open anytime soon, ever. I do 212s my home. Like you said, Bob, also, little by little, a few pounds here, a few pounds there. I can keep this title for as long as I want, God willing. And that's one thing I don't have to stress, like my competitors. I don't have to make that weight. So I'm not suffering. I'm not cutting food and water and not being able to fill back up from the stage. We're just kind of cruising into the show at my best. And then when I hit the stage, that's literally at my best every time.
Well, one good thing that you have it as an advantage is, Shaun, you're solidly in the division. So you're not like you're teeter-tottering at 208 or 211. So you can train like an open guy where you don't have to make a weight.
Right.
And you could literally just go by your physique. So if it's 177, great. If next year you're 180, fine. If you're a 176, that's fine. You just got to be the best out there. So it's kind of an advantage that you really don't have to, quote, make a weight.
Yeah, we don't focus on weight at all. We just want to grow and make improvements. And along the way, if I grow while doing so, great. If not, I'm not worried about the weight.
Well, Bob and I have been hypothetically trying to make the 212 division a little more competitive for you. We have the hypothetical that 2-time classic physique champion Breon Ansley. Our advices were to go ahead and put on another 10 pounds and jump in there in the 212, and he'll be standing in there freshly at about 195 pounds, and 10 more pounds on Breon Ansley because of his height at 5'6". Yeah. Would make him a very competitive, formidable rival for you if he took our advices. We don't know that he will. But what do you make of his physique in a 212 matchup?
I mean, aesthetically, conditioning-wise, he's got everything. I think if you put another 10 pounds in the right areas, he can definitely be a threat for sure.
What's kind of interesting, Shaun, is that Shaun has literally made a career. Everybody's bigger than he is.
Yes.
Right? You're always the smallest guy in the class. Maybe even the lightest guy in the class every single time, right? So it really, you can throw out any name to him. We can cherry pick people and put him in and go, what do you think about this guy? What do you think about that?
Doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter because you're like, hey, bring them all on. They're all going to be bigger than me. They're all going to be taller than me. So what's the difference?
Exactly. You could bring an open guy. It wouldn't matter to me. I'm going to train the same way and show up just hungry, ready to battle.
Well, let's give our people some props, Shaun, because bodybuilding is a sport of I and me. And I've heard you throughout this whole conversation talk about we. We're coming in this way. We got to do this. We did that. Who is the we in your sphere of preparation for competition?
So a very small circle. My girlfriend, obviously, who I train with every single morning and at night. My coaches, Matt Jansen and John Meadows. And of course, my sponsors, Bio Gas. I mean, those people together have enabled me to make it to Olympia and be at my absolute best. So again, we're all there this year as well, which is awesome.
Did we hear you correct that your training partner is your girlfriend?
Yep.
No, that never would have worked for you, bro.
Bob could have been my training partner in that case.
Yeah. Never your girlfriend.
So how does this work? I mean, I know she's bigger than you. Now, when you say she's your trial, are you taking her to the mat? Like, are you taking it, like, is this a sparring match with you guys?
For the past 6 years, Shaun, she hasn't missed a session.
Wow.
She trains with me. Obviously, she's not doing the same weight, but if I'm bench pressing, she's bench pressing. She's squatting, she's deadlifting. Whatever I'm doing, she's doing the same thing.
That's nice.
And you know what was cool to see was at the Olympia after he regained consciousness on the floor. His girlfriend was the first one there on the stage, right there with you, enjoying that moment. How special was that for you, Shaun?
Oh man, that was it for me, man. I wanted to win for them, because they put so much effort and time in to see me succeed that I felt like I needed to win this for them, and it was great for them to be there. It was awesome.
Yeah, well, I remember when we started with the 212-pound division. It was actually Bob and I helped make that possible after spending, my entire career battling out the giants. And
now we come up with the 212.
Yeah, now we come up with it. The year after I retire.
Sorry, bro.
No, it took a while, but in 2007, it was David Henry won the very first 212 at the New York Pro Championships in concert with the New York Pro. And then, of course, he won the first 202 Olympia.
202 back then.
202, yeah. And then it graduated to 212 pounds back in the... And so when that stuff was taking shape, you were under construction. How elated were you to see that as a potential finish line and give you hope that you can continue on as a bodybuilder?
I said that even if it was just open, I would still compete. I would try to compete the same way David Henry did. But once they made the 202 and the 212, I think they had a 210 at one point in time as well, I was ecstatic. Again, I took my time, though. I wasn't going to rush it. I was competing in other organizations, just slowly building my physique up. And when I felt like I was time and I felt ready, that's when I decided to go for my pro card, which I won in 2012. And then from there, I was kind of starting from the bottom again. And I knew that, and I was okay with that. I made my debut at the 2014 New York Pro, placing pretty much dead last. But from there on, I just continued to improve every year, show up bigger, better, and just hungrier. And then obviously, over the years, I've just kind of climbed myself up as far as Olympia rankings go. And here I am today, a couple years later, the Olympia champ.
Well, I can say this. When we first started this venture, Shaun, years ago, not everybody was exactly on board. No. I know Jim had some reservations. He didn't know if it would be popular or successful enough to sustain its own. And it took a few years. We moved the weight around a couple of times. We allowed crossovers, which I really wasn't in favor of right off the bat.
Yeah.
But we quickly got rid of that as well when Silvio Samuel ended up going in the Houston Pro or whatever it was, and he won both. And I was like, this is not what this is designed for.
Correct.
You got to give these guys their own platform, and it will grow. And to their credit, Jim stuck with it, and the IFBB. But this, Shaun Clarida, is exactly why this exists.
Yes.
Because you have to be able to compete relatively within your own, whether it's height and structure. This is also why the Classic Olympia is so popular, because you've got guys that are all in the same parameters. Now, while it's enjoying seeing the Giant Killer slay some giants, I don't ever really want to see him next to Big Ramy. It looks like
it's almost like talking.
It's
like having Sugar Ray Leonard fight Mike Tyson.
Yeah, exactly.
They're both great, but it's not a fair fight.
No.
I totally agree. I mean, again, I was still competing in the open, but let's be real, I'm not beating a Big Ramy or Phil Heath anytime soon. So to have that division for us shorter, lighter guys, man, it's a dream come true. It helped people really take their career to the next level. I know a lot of guys probably would have retired by now had it not been a 212 class. But now that we have it, it's giving people a lot of opportunity to continue in what they love.
Well, and the legitimacy of it all, I mean, through the efforts of Jake Wood and the IFBB Pro League raising the prize money to $50,000. I mean, Bob, the first 202 show was a $5,000 prize.
That's right.
And while the Open, we're still winning, I think, 15 and 20, and the work is the same, right? So that obviously gives you a little bit more longevity and fuel to go back and reinvest in your physique and your preparation and your team. Could you have done this on your own, or is this something that you definitely had to have the team? Is the team going to stay together going forward?
Oh, absolutely. This team is to stay. I definitely could not have done it without them, because there's been days where I kind of almost didn't want to do this, or was very close to giving up. But again, because I have my girlfriend here, my coach is kind of looking at me and pushing me every single day, we were able to make this, dream a reality.
Well, Shaun, I want to get into this past Olympia, what you think about some of the other competitors and some of the other divisions, and we're going to get to that right after this commercial break.
Joe Weider's Olympia here in Orlando, Florida. A little bit strange coming out of Las Vegas for all of those years.
Good evening, and welcome to the event that nearly never happened.
There's been an absence of a particular group of people on this stage that are back tonight. Tonight I'm here to say, welcome back to Miss Olympia.
All right, welcome back. Shaun, before we went to break, I wanted to ask the giant killer himself about other competition that was there. You got to see the Open a little bit. Give me your thoughts on the Open. Big Ramy, you had the return of Phil Heath. You had Brandon Curry as the champ, Dexter Jackson, his moment out there.
Yeah. I was so excited to see Dexter's last show, to be there, to witness it. Again, he's my biggest inspiration. So for him to make his last appearance on Olympia stage and for me to be there to see it was definitely an amazing moment and emotional for me. But it was exciting to see Big Ramy, Phil, Brandon battling out. A lot of people gave Ramy slack this year because he got the special invite, but he used that to his advantage, and he came in at his all-time best, I believe. And seeing it firsthand up close, it was mind-blowing. Because we know he's got the size, but he's never brought the conditioning. But now having Chad and Dennis in his corner this year, he absolutely brought it. It was definitely a deserved win. And I don't know how long he's going to try to keep it for, but if he continues to improve and go down the route he's going, he can hold it for a while.
Well, let me ask you, now that you've got the Olympia title, which means Olympia lifetime qualification,
that's right.
You don't have to requalify. Will you be the guy that's only competing once a year, like the other champions had done in years past, like Flex Lewis when he was winning 7?
I've done many of the other shows, the New York Pros, all the smaller shows. My goal right now is to focus on the Olympia only. This is something I've worked toward over the years, so the focus will be the Olympia only.
See, I think this is smart. And Shaun, you actually were one of the first guys to pioneer that.
Yeah.
Because back in your day, it was very common for the guys to compete on the circuit, the English Grand Prix, and all those shows that were post-Olympia, and then other shows before the Olympia. But, we've talked obviously forever about this, but it was always your contention that you were not interested, other than the Arnold show that you went into.
And I got it like the first time, right?
Right.
The second time.
But it was always your contention that you had no interest really in winning Grand Prix and going out to compete for $5,000 and $10,000 when A, you could preserve your physique, B, you had your eyes on an Olympia title, and C, you could conduct the business of bodybuilding, doing appearances and setting yourself up for a career. Mm-hmm. So I think Shaun's on the right path.
Yeah, and I think when all that stuff was happening for me, Bob, I wasn't a forward thinker. It was just that my dream was to be Mr. Olympia. And I wanted to do everything and preserve myself for the best opportunity for victory. And of course, back in those days, once you qualified, there's no reason to go out into these other shows. That wasn't my thing. And I think Shaun's in a good position. He's already paid his dues. He's won a couple of championships already. So focusing on the Olympia, which will be the grease that oils the chain, now you can do the other things, the business of bodybuilding as a team, make some decisions to set yourself up for life after bodybuilding as well.
Now, Shaun, we didn't get to see your buddy Flex Lewis, who obviously has a few titles himself in the 212 division. We were all hopeful we were going to see that big coming together of Olympia champs on the stage this year in the Open. Unfortunately, he had some injuries and some things that came up that kept him out. But what do you think about your old buddy Flex moving up to the Open division? And had we seen Flex on that stage this year, where do you think he might have placed?
I personally have Flex Ballard in the top 3 this year. Had he been there for sure, because Flex is dangerous, man. But his issue is that he had to make 212, so we didn't ever see the best Flex Lewis on stage.
Right.
But we all saw the photos leading into the show 6 weeks out. He looks phenomenal, right? At 225, 230.
Yeah.
So for that Flex to show up at the Olympia, I mean, he's definitely be a contender for the title. Period.
Yeah, he could have been the spoiler for guys like Brandon and maybe the guy Hadi Chupin.
We know he's beat Chupan before, right? Because those two actually went at it into 212, I believe, a couple years back. Correct, Shaun?
In Korea, but hey, I think
Korea, yeah.
Well, I had Hadi beating him in that show,
and that was arguable because again, that could have kind of gone either way.
Right.
Respect to the champ, but you see Hadi 2 years in a row in contention in that top 3 and 4. So yeah, I don't think it's crazy to think that a 100% Flex Lewis at 222 pounds. He could have wreaked some havoc on there. Hopefully we'll see that this year.
Yeah, I don't think that door is closed. I think it might still happen in 2021. For you, Shaun, what do you see the bodybuilding industry look like on the calendar for 2021 for yourself? You are the champion. The climate has changed, so you can't just freely go around with that medal and show it off, because I know you would be on a world tour in 2021 if you could. But maybe it's a blessing in disguise that forces you to stay at home and continue to work on the physique and do the business, because a full year of concentrating on the Olympia and not having to go around being an ambassador for the Olympia, it might be a good way for you to defend that title.
I mean, I am traveling a little bit right now for sponsors. But I definitely want to be able to attend some of the big NPC shows at the Nationals and the USAs, and obviously the New York Pros, things like that. So you'll definitely see me there. But like you said, Shaun, it does give me that time to kind of just focus on Olympia directly. And kind of going back to the question about doing other shows, aside from having one other shows, I feel like me giving 100% just that one show is definitely going to make me a better bodybuilder. Running the gauntlet year after year, 2, 3, 4, 5 shows a year isn't going to help me win multiple Olympias.
Right.
Shaun, who's your biggest threat going into 2021? You obviously see the competition. A lot of you guys are actually pretty close in that 212 division, where you guys all kind of keep in touch with each other, train with each other, perhaps give advices. I don't know if they're always the right ones, Shaun.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
Who do you see as your big threat? Is it? I don't know if Kamal's coming back or not. He hasn't really indicated. But you got Derek Lunsford. You got George Peterson, who made the jump. You've got some other new guys, perhaps a Breon Ansley going. We don't know.
Keon Peterson,
Pearson.
Yeah.
Again, who do you see as I got to keep my eye on this guy?
Well, for me, first of all, the top 5 guys will always be the guys you kind of look toward. But honestly, you can't take anyone lightly in that division, even the last place guy, because I was once that last place guy that people probably didn't think was ever going to do anything, right? And look what I did a couple years later. So I think everyone's serious. Everyone's a threat for the title. But for me, I guess the top 5 guys, Kamal more so than ever, because he does have a title. He knows what it's like. He's been a champion, right?
Sure.
That a win. So that's one guy I'm obviously keeping my eye on going forward.
Well, Shaun, how can people follow you and get your information on social media? I know you got a lot of nice, interesting stuff to share with people. And your shirt, let's see it. Just come up a little bit so we can see what's on your shirt. I know you got the Giant Killer shirt.
There we go.
I want one of those. I'm a single X. Bob's a triple X. Yeah.
So listen, you got to get some new shirts now with the title or Olympia champ or whatever you want to put on there.
Yeah, we just launched my website this week with the Giant Killer shirts and No Plan B shirts.
I love that.
So we got a lot of things going. We got more shirts coming. So you can find me on giantkiller212.com for all that, as well as Instagram. I'm very big on there. Just Shaun Clarida. You can find me there as well.
All right, man. Well, sorry that they spelled your name wrong with a U instead of a W, but it's all good. You're keeping the legacy alive. Big Shaun, congratulations once again. Enjoy the victory. We look forward to big and bigger things come the Olympia 2021.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you with both. Thank you.
All right. Well, there it is. You got the Giant Killer. And we can take these off.
Take that off.
We can take these off. Yeah, we got the Giant Killer carrying on the legacy that Danny Padilla started.
Yeah.
And, of course, I think some people were alluding to Tom Platz, Lee Labrada. They're Giant Killers as well. But this right here at 5'3", 177 pounds, that's the real deal.
Well, you got to go with the extremes. I mean, Platz, Franco, Lee Labrada, all those guys, they were all pretty short. Yeah. I mean, so it's not like they were that much, shorter than some of the other guys. Padilla was an exception that he was 5'2" on a good day. And again, Danny's from my hometown and my home gym, so I got to spend loads of time training with Danny when he was getting ready for competitions, when he made his comeback, and then even into the fancy WBF days, bro.
Oh, back then. Let me give you a hypothetical.
Yes,
where do you put this giant killer in an open lineup? Like, let's say there is no 212. Is he in the mix? Is he in the conversation?
That gets a little dicier, and I think Shaun Clarida is very...
Because he'd be on an island kind of by himself.
I think he's very realistic with that. I mean, listen, he's 177 pounds. Right. Now, what's the difference, people ask? Okay, here's the difference. If you go to an NPC show, all right, or a Nationals, or a USA, okay,
right,
where they've got weight categories. Now, Shaun at 177, I believe, would be in the middleweights.
Yeah, middleweights.
Okay?
Correct.
Or welterweights, somewhere in that range, okay?
176.
We've both seen, we've been at many USAs and Nationals we've covered, right? You see that guy come out and you go, wow, man, this guy looks good. I can't wait to see him in the post down, right? In the
overalls, right?
Yeah, because I think he might be now. The guys come out.
Yeah,
right?
Get lost kind of in the show.
And all of a sudden, your eyes go to the right side.
Here comes Big Ramy.
Right? Yeah, because there comes this big 200-something pound monster and the light heavyweight guy, right?
Yeah, everybody likes to see
all
the big guys.
All of a sudden, it changes.
Yeah.
You can't give up. We're talking about him giving up 30 pounds within the class.
Yeah, 212.
How about if he's giving up 130 pounds in the open?
Yeah, 277 pounds.
Right?
It could happen.
Big Ramy is close to 300 pounds.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're just making up numbers here. So a lot of that would get lost in translation where they just don't have that kind of mass to hang with those guys.
The wow factors.
This is why I like the idea that 212 competitors are not allowed to cross over. Mm-hmm. You pick one or you pick the other.
Right.
Now, nothing's stopping Shaun Clarida. He can go to an open show.
Sure.
But you just can't compete in both at the same show.
Fair enough, yeah.
I've always liked the idea that these guys can stand on their own, and I think they've earned that and deserved it over the years. They have made the 212 popular.
It is.
People like it.
It's one of the competitive divisions.
Well, they're always in shape, right? Listen, you might get some sloppy open guys. You never see a sloppy 212 guy.
Yeah, and great routines, by the way. It seems like they take more pride and effort in their routines.
As the classic guys do, too, and that's why classic bodybuilding has taken off and is very popular because they do seem to take a little bit more pride in the posing because it's classic, so they think that's kind of gets worked into the scoring more, and it does, in all fairness.
And the conditioning, these 212 guys, they come in shape, man. So this is going to be one to watch for.
Well, his shape is what brought him through. Like I say, Kamal was beating him up by 30 pounds. He had more muscle, he had more mass, he had more thickness. But his proportions are so extreme. He's got that tiny, it looks like somebody squeezed him in the middle and everything went to
And what he has
both
going for
sides.
him is the flare, like the quads billow out to the sides, and the deltoids are big and round, and the biceps. I mean, you got that cartoon type thing on the short, diminutive physique that's only 177 pounds. It makes him stand out when you're looking down the lineup. Because again, Kamal's a little bit more straight up and down.
Yep.
I think Derek Lunsford is a little bit more wider.
He's wider.
Doesn't carry the kind of quality detail and vascularity. It counts for something.
Well, I'm gonna answer the question because he answered the question correctly. Who should you be concerned with? Well, the top 5 guys. I mean, you don't want to count anybody out.
Sure.
But we look at things a little bit more in depth. Who's he got to be watching? Derek Lunsford.
Yeah.
Derek Lunsford has those kind of proportions and the size. Mm-hmm. He just hasn't figured out the combination into the conditioning. If he can, he's trouble.
Yep. Well, my X factor is Breon Ansley, and he should go into that 212 division because that's a title waiting for him, and he'll make history by being a 2-time classic physique champion and potentially a 212 champion. I'd love to see that rivalry take place.
Shouldn't Breon be looking at a winner like a Shaun Clarida and looking at his chops or thinking to myself, wait, I can beat this guy? Or is that the lure? Is that the lure that the giant killer has, that these big guys look at him and they go, he's tiny, I'm going to beat, and then boom, they get beat.
Well, sometimes bodybuilders get stuck in their own head. And again, like Shaun said, he has a team. So they're influenced by what other people think instead of finding their own dream and pursuing it on their own. So when you have other people kind of telling you what to do, when to do it, it's a little bit harder to get outside that box. I think if Breon Ansley hears it enough, that maybe his best challenge and rival would be in that 212 division. He might go there because he's a bodybuilder first.
Well, we've seen plenty of surprises last year, Shaun. I'm sure 2021 is going to be no different. But
absolutely,
we'll be watching. But you know what? Congratulations to the new giant killer, Shaun Clarida. Great champion, and I think he's going to be around for a few years to come, Shaun. We'll be keeping our eyes on him this year. Of course, we'll see him at the 2021 Olympia, which details will be coming soon on, Shaun.
Absolutely. Well, stay tuned to another episode of Monday Night Muscle coming up next week. For Bob Chick, I'm Shaun Wright.